Okay, so today we will finish with CSS attributes or sorry, CSS parameters that are left. And then next week onwards, we will start designing the pages. Okay, so let me start as usual. I will start by creating a folder. Okay, so let me call it CSS3, that is for week 3. Okay, right click, open with code, and let's say index.html. And what else was there? A folder called CSS, and inside that folder I can have main.css. Okay, so this main.css can be anything, it is completely up to you. Okay, then I think that is it. Okay, so now here I can start a basic HTML document, link to that particular CSS, main.css, and that's it. Okay, so I'm ready with my initial few steps. Okay, so now the next step is to start the live server. Okay, so once that is done, I can open it. That's it. Okay, so in the last week, what we have covered, we have seen how to set borders, how to set backgrounds, how to set gradients in the backgrounds, how to set images, how to set multiple images as backgrounds, then how to look at margins, paddings. I don't think we have done width and height. Did we do width and height? Okay, so what we will do, we'll start today. We'll quickly start with first of all, let's create a few divs. Okay, so div. Okay, let's call this, give this ID of, let's say, container. You can give any ID. These are some of the standard names that we give. Okay, so it is actually, let's call it class. Okay, you can do anything, it's completely up to you. Okay, if it's an ID, it should be unique. That thing you have to take care. Okay, then let me give a div, and let's give some lorem text. Okay, so you can see I have a lorem text over here. Then take another div, again a lorem text, and then a third div, again a lorem text. Okay, so I have taken 3 divs, and now I'm going to do I want to give a class to all these 3 divs. Okay, so for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cursor, press Alt, okay, in Visual Studio Code, that creates multiple cursors. Now I can start typing class and mm, give any name, p tags. Okay, so I've given a name called p tags. Then let's give ID. Okay, and let's give the first ID as p1, then second one as p2, and third one as p3. Okay, so I have given 3 tags, so 3 classes, sorry, 1 class and 3 IDs. Okay, so now I can start selecting the elements. Okay, so the first thing that I would like to do is I want to see the different divs separately. Okay, so let's try that. Okay, so P1, it's an ID, right? So I should use hash P1. Okay, and once I do that, then what I can do is I can set the background color, or let's say background. I can say linear gradient. Okay, so first parameter is the direction, so to bottom. Second one is the two colors. Okay, so I can have two colors, and you can see I have just selected two red colors, but I am now going to change the gradient a little. Okay, so this is how my gradient looks, right? The same thing I'm going to repeat for P2 and P3. Okay, so P2, P3, the colors I'm going to select different. Okay, so I have selected four colors, and this is how it looks. Okay, now obviously, let me just increase the font. Okay, so obviously this looks too congested, right? Now the first thing to note here is, can you see an outer gap in between the web page and the contents? Okay, so there is a gap in between, right? So the first step is, whenever you start designing, your first step is to remove that. Okay, so basically that is added by the browser. Okay, so every browser has their own styles. Okay, so that I have to reset. For that, what I do is I usually use star. Okay, star means everything. Okay, so all the elements, I'm going to select all the elements and remove the margin to 0. Okay, so when I put that, now you can see, once that is removed from everywhere, margin, if the browser has set any margin, that will be removed. Okay, so now this is looking a little better. The next thing that I'm going to do is, I'm not liking the way it is all congested, right? So the next thing that I'm going to do is, because I want to add padding in all the divs. Okay, so to add padding in all the divs, I can put padding inside each one of them, or I have already given a class called ptags. I will use that to give the padding. Okay, so let me select that. It's a class, so I have to use dot. Okay, then I can do padding of, let's say, 10 pixels, and now you can see it looks a little better, right? Second thing that I would like is, since my color is dark, I would like my font to be light. Okay, so let me change it color. Okay, so this is, I don't know whether it is good or bad, but this is fine for me. Okay, now let us till here we have covered in the last part. Okay, now let us see measurements. Okay, now for the measurements, right now, let's suppose I set a width of each and every element. Let's put a width. Okay, width of, let's say, 200 pixels. Okay, so as soon as I do that, you can see, let me just reset. So this is my actual size. Okay, 100% zoom. Okay, so you can see all the widths have changed. Okay, so right now these are all 100% width. Okay, but if I try to change the browser size, the width does not change. That is because I have used fixed widths. Okay, 200 pixels means fixed width, right? But let's suppose I don't want that. I want the size of my div to change based on the size of the window. Okay, so for that you have two options. The first one I will show you is, let's say, 30%. Okay, so I can use percentages. Okay, so now if I you sorry now if I drag it, you can see the size of my div also increases based on the size of the window. Okay, so that is a good thing about percentages. right? But the percentage completely depends upon its parent element. Okay, so if the parent element right now is 100%, or what I can say is it is using the entire width. Okay, but if you go back to my code, you can see there is a class assigned to the outer div. Okay, so this is the outer div. There is a class assigned to it. Let's select that dot container. Okay, and let us give a width of, let's say, 600 pixels. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is outer div, I'm putting it a fixed width. Okay, so I've fixed this. Okay, and the inner width is based on percentages. Okay, so now can anyone tell me what will happen when I drag it? Will the width of the divs change or not? If I drag it right now, will the width of my these divs change? Any idea? You can write yes or no. Not sure. Okay, very it's very true. Let me show you first. Okay, so let me put a border, and let's set a border of black. Okay, just to show you. Sorry, 1 pixel, 1 pixel, solid black. Okay, so you can see this is my outer div. You can see it is the size of the outer div is 600 pixels. Okay, so now if I drag this particular window, what will happen? If I drag, is the outer window, outer div size going to change? Okay, so you can see from this that if the outer window or outer div is fixed size, then there is no use of this percentage over here. Okay, so it doesn't make any sense, because since the outer div itself is fixed, whatever is the percentage, it is also going to be same. Okay, so this percentage, internal percentage, is also going to be fixed. Okay, so whenever you are using percentages, this uh, you should you can use it inside fixed width also, but provided you use it efficiently. Okay, I will show an example of that also, but for the time being, let us select this also as, let's say, 50%. Okay, so the outer div will be 50% of the parent of that. Okay, and the parent of the outer div, what is the parent of outer div? It is body. Okay, and body, as you know, it takes up the entire space. So 50% of body means somewhere around center will be your outer div, that is container. Okay, and uska 30%. Okay, so the width of the p tags is 30% of that. Okay, so that is very important to understand. That is 30% when I say it is of the parent. Okay, so that thing has to be understood. So right now over here 50% means 50% of the parent, and the parent here is body for the container. That's why it will be half of the entire width. Okay, so let me save it, and you can see what is the width of the container. Okay, so the container tag is exactly in between. So okay, and if you look at this, let me make this also 50% so that you can see it better. So you can see when I do like this, then I get 50%. Okay, but after looking at this, um, let me do one more thing before I go ahead. Okay, let me add a border to all these elements. Okay, so let me add a border of, let's say, 20 pixels, solid, and blue. Okay. So you can see I have added the border, right? And now let me, instead of using, what do you say? Let me just remove this. And instead of using percentages, let me use 200 pixels. Okay. I'm using a fixed width. Okay. So I'm using 200 pixels as my size. Okay. Now I will show you one major problem with this particular setup. Okay. Just right click on this, inspect, do an inspect. Okay. And if I go down, let me just move myself here. Okay. So you can see what is my border. It is 20 pixels, right? And what is my size of the container? It is 200, because that is what I have set. Okay. 200 pixels. Okay. Now, in many of the cases, what happens is you want the size of the container to be 200 pixels, including everything, right? Means that means margin or padding or border or anything. Okay. Right now, what is happening is, just look at this. Okay. So if you look at this, the including the margin, can I show you? Okay, just let me just. Okay, so here you can see that the border is, let's say for example, my width of my container is 200 pixels, right? That is what I have set over here, right? So width of the container, that is the center part, is 200. Then I have 10 pixel to the side, that is, it is highlighted in brown color, you can see. Then I have 20 pixels as the border. Okay. So now look at the actual container size. Okay. So the actual container size is now 200 plus 10 plus 20 on this side plus 10, 20 on this side. That means how much? 10 and 10 on this side, 20 and 20 on this side. So this becomes total 60. So extra 60 width. So now my container size, my final container size is 260 pixels. Okay. So now let us assume that you have designed your web page for 200 pixel size. And after adding border, margin, etc., it has now become 260. So your entire, what do you say, your layout gets disturbed. Okay. So this should not happen. For to avoid that, what you can do is, there is a simple trick. The way we have set margin of everything as 0, there is one more thing that you can do. You can go for box sizing. Okay. So box sizing, you can set by default, it is content box. Okay. That is what we are seeing right now. If you set it to border box and save it, you can see now you can see the difference. Okay. Let me show you the difference. Right click, inspect. Okay. Now go down. Now look at this entire thing. Okay. The size of the content is 140 pixels. The size of the padding is 10. Size of the border is 20. Okay. So 20 on this side, 20 on this side, left and right. Padding 10, 10. So that becomes 60 total in all. Padding plus border, 60 on both the sides. Okay. And the total width is become 140. So if you add all these things up, it becomes 200. Okay. So that is the advantage of using this one line of code, that is box sizing, border box. Okay. So that means everything is included inside the dimensions. Okay. So normally whenever we do layout designing, these two things should be always present in your layout. Okay. So that is always your first line of code. Okay. And because of this, what happens is, whatever dimensions you set, that will be accurately set. Okay. It will not increase or decrease. Okay. So if that is clear, let me go on to few more different variations of dimensions. Okay. So the next dimensions I would like to show is, we have seen pixels, we have seen percentages, and last time we have seen inches, points, centimeters, millimeters. So all these things you can put over here. Okay, so basically you can do 20 mm. Okay, so that will be let's select 200 mm, and you can see this becomes 200 mm width. Okay, so all these things you can do, but in case of layouts for the desktop environment or for mobile, we normally use fluid layouts, and for fluid layouts we sometimes use percentages, or we use something new. It is called, okay, so let's say 20 VW. Okay, so let me do this. Okay, now what is this VW? Okay, so V stands for, V stands for viewport. Okay, so what do you mean by viewport? So viewport is nothing but what is visible to you. Okay, so for example, in my case, this browser window that is there inside that white background, that is the viewport. Okay, so that is the viewport that that I will say as 100 VW. Okay, so if I put this as 100 VW, that means 100% of the viewport. Okay, so if I save it, you can see it extends entirely. Okay, it is called as 100. That is basically like percentage, you can say, but it is not relative to the parent. Okay, so percentage and VW, there is a big difference. Okay, so in case of percentages, it is dependent on the parent. Okay, so like for example, in p tags, if I put percentage, it will find what is the width of container and it will take the percentage of that. But when you put set it as VW, it will use the size of the viewport and not the parent. Okay, the parent has nothing to do with it. It will take the size of the viewport. Okay, so you can see if I want complete width, I will set it as 100 VW. But let's suppose I want it a little uh, smaller. Okay, so what I can do is I just want 10% of the width. Okay, so I can do 10 VW. Okay, now if I save it, you can see it becomes very small. Let's take 30% of the viewport. Okay, now what I can do is I can now drag it. You can see the container becomes now fluid. Okay, so it is much more what do you say, responsive. It's not exactly responsive, but it adjusts its size based on this. Okay, now second very important thing is uh, you can set the height also in the same way. Okay, so let's suppose height of the container. Now right now the height of the container is auto calculated. Like for example, whatever is the content required for that content, whatever is the height required, that much height is taken. Okay, but you want the height to be fixed. Okay, so you want the height to be, let's say, 300 pixels fixed height. So you can do that. So now you can see all the heights of the containers becomes the same. Okay, but in this case, if you resize your browser, it does not work. Okay, so it is not responsive in this case. Okay, it does not reduce the size. For that also you can use percentages. Okay, but here using percentages will not help because the height of the div is not set. Okay, so what you can do is, instead of that, what you can do, you can use something called as VH, viewport height. Okay, so VW means viewport width, VH means viewport height. Okay, so I can set it as, let's say, 100%, not 100%, let's take 30% only, 30% of viewport height. Okay, so if I save this, you can see now this is how it looks. Okay, and the best part, if I resize it, you can see what happens, right? And but then there is a problem that if you go beyond certain limit, it starts overflowing, right? Now this is the problem with using such kind of a thing. That also can be removed, that we'll see. Okay, now next thing that I would like to show you is whenever I am changing the size of my window, the font size is still the same. Okay. So what is the use of such a thing when the font style is going to remain the same? Okay. If the browser is increasing, the font should also increase, right? So that also you can do. You can do font size. You can set the font size to, let's say, 10 VW. Okay. So viewport width. Okay. So 10% of the viewport width. If I save it, you can see now this becomes extremely large. So let me reduce it to 1%, and 1% becomes very small. So you can adjust it according to your needs. Let's take 2%. Okay. So 2% is fine, I think. Okay. And now if I change the size, you can see my font also increases. Okay. Obviously it doesn't look good, but the font, the point is the font increases. Okay. And when I go down, the font also reduces. Okay. But then there is, you know, such a small font cannot be read by people, right? So it is not of that helpful when it keeps on decreasing. It is keeping on going down. Okay. So in that cases, what you can do is there is a function called clamp. Okay. So this clamp can be used anywhere that you like. Okay. So how to use that, I will show you. For that, what you have to do is set clamp. Okay. Wherever you are going to set a dimension, you can set clamp, and clamp function takes three inputs. The first one is minimum, the last one is maximum, and in between you can use a fluid mechanism. Okay. So let's set the minimum. I want minimum as, let's say, 2 rem. Sorry, let me select as 0.8 rem as minimum, and maximum as, let's say, 3 rem, and in the center I can have something like the fluid part. Okay. So minimum, maximum, and the fluid part I can use VW for fluid part. Okay. So let's say, let me take it as 2 VW. Okay. So now when I save it, let us see whether it looks good or not. Okay. So it goes till here, and then it, I think 0.8 is too less. Let us take it as 1 rem. And 3 rem is also too much. Let's set it to 2 rem. Okay. So you can see after certain time, it stops increasing the font. Okay. And if you go down after this stage, okay, so you can see after this stage, the font starts reducing. And I think I can increase this to 1.5 to show it to you better. Okay. Okay. So this is the maximum font. I will come till here, and okay. So now at this point, you can see the clamping is starting. Okay. So here now it becomes fluid. It is becoming small. And after this part, you can see now the font is not decreasing. Okay. So uh, the orientation is changing because the width of the container is changing, but the font, if you can see, it is not changing. Okay. So that is the use of this clamp function. Okay. So this we'll be using when we design responsive websites. Okay. Uh, I think that this much is enough for this part. Okay. Now let me show you one more thing. Okay. So let's do something a little more interesting. Okay. Let's clear out all these things. Let me clear the border. Let me clear the font size and padding. Okay, so let me add a little bit of margin from all the sides, let's say 30 pixels. Okay, so this is my currently my window. Okay, now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create a button. Okay, so let's create a button. Let us style a button. Okay, so let's create a button first. uh, Button, let's say login. Okay, so I have created a login button. You can see it is on the top. Okay, so let me just comment this out. I think I have not shown you how you can comment an HTML file. Okay, so just use this syntax, and wherever you want to end the comment, you put this. Okay, so this for ending the comment and this for starting the comment. Okay, so now if you save it, that part is gone. Okay, so now I've created a login button, but right now you can see the style. There is no style as such. Okay, so this is how it looks. Now I want to style this. Okay, so let's start styling this a little bit. Let's come down. First of all, let's take a body, give it a dark color. Okay, so let's give it a color, let's say I will change the background color directly. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select now the submit button. Okay, so submit button I can select either using, I can put a class over here. Okay, and then select, but since there is only one element, I can select directly. Okay, and let's first of all give some margin, and let's give 50 pixels margin. Now this margin will, bring it a little bit close here. Okay, and because it is 50 pixels, you can, bring it say to the center of your page. I can put it 150. It is too much. Okay, so let it be like this. Okay, now I'm going to style it. Okay, so let's style it. First of all, I want to change the look of the button, right? So I can do border radius of, let's say, 30 pixels. And as soon as I do that, you can see it looks like a button now. Okay, but it is a little bit congested. I can do padding. Padding will be inside, margin will be outside. Okay, so padding I can do, let's say 10 pixels. So you can see now my padding is there applied, but I don't want padding, same padding top and bottom and left and right. I want top and bottom to be 10 pixels and left and right to be, let's say, 50 pixels. So this is how my button looks like now. Okay, so one step done. Next step, I want to change the background color. Okay, so background color, I can set it to, let's say, background color, I can set it to, let's say, the same color as the, or let's take blue. Okay, sorry, background color. Okay, so background color is set. This color I don't like, so I will change it to something richer. Okay, this is fine. And now again, when there is a dark background, you should have a light text in front of it. So let's change the color to white. Okay, now it's looking better. Now, once this is done, I want to set the border also. So let me set the border. I want 1 pixel border, solid. And let's select white and see how it looks. I don't think it looks good, but okay. This is fine. Let me select something a little darker. Okay, so this is fine for me. Okay, so this is my button, right? Now this looks like a normal button. It doesn't have any, catch to it. Okay, so now we are going to study, learn a new trick, that is how to add shadows to anything. Okay. So to add shadows, you have to use the command called box shadow. Okay. Okay. So for the box shadow, we require at least three things. First one is the X. What is the X axis of the shadow? Y axis. Then there is something called as blur. What is the blur? And then there is the spread. Okay. So I will show you what all these things mean. Okay. And finally, it is the color of their shadow. Okay. So first, let us see 0 pixels. No, let us take 2 pixels X and 2 pixels Y and a color of, let's suppose, white. Okay. Because the background is dark, the shadow should be, slightly to be visible. I will put white right now. Okay. So you can see now what happens. Okay. So it is now creating a shadow with X 2 and Y2. Okay. So let me make it a little. Okay. So you can see now there is a shadow, right? But it does not look anything like a shadow. The reason is there is no blur. Okay. So blur is very important when you set up a shadow. Okay. So for the blur to happen, you have to add a third parameter after the Y. Okay. So the third parameter is how much blur it is to be there in the shadow. Okay. So let's say 2 pixel blur, and now you can see it looks like a shadow. Okay. uh, you can change the color a little. So let me take it a dark black color, and you can see now it exactly looks like a shadow. Okay. So it is as if it is lifting up. Okay. Now this is one way of doing it, right? The second way, this is when you want the shadow to be something like when the light is coming from one direction. Okay. Now let's suppose you want to glow a particular element. Okay. So this looks like it is a shadow, but if you want to glow something, then what you should do is your X and Y should be 0. Okay. So X and Y is 0. There should be a blur. Okay. So let me save it and show you. So you can see it is there, but the amount is very less. Okay. So let me make it 6 pixels, and you can see now it is all around. You can see there is a blur. Okay. Part is there. Okay. Now if you want to extend this further, you can add a spread also. Let's say 3 pixel spread. So now you can see it becomes more prominent. That lift is becoming more prominent. Okay. And if you do not use X and Y, it will be centered. Okay. So at every place it will be the same shadow. Okay. But normally when if you have seen shadows, the light is coming from one particular direction and the shadow is casted in the other direction. Okay. So for that effect, you should always remember that your spread should be put to 0, right? And your X and Y should have some value. Okay. So let's say 2 and 2. So now you can see looks like it is coming, the light is coming from the top, and the shadow is casted to the down location. Okay. So this is the way of doing this shadow. Okay. I would like to show you one more shadow. Okay. One more that I have shown you right now in Figma also. Okay. That is very interesting. I would like to show you that. Let me change the background color. Okay. So let the background color be same as the, sorry, undo. To generate the raised button effect, then what you have to do is you can copy the, okay, so you can copy the same background color. Your background color of the page and the button should be same if you want to create that neomorphic effect. Okay. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the background. Okay. And save it. Okay. And there should be no border. Okay. So I will remove the border equal to none. Okay, and look at this. So this is how it looks. Okay, so I can set a little value over here of, let's say, 4 pixels, and a spread of, let's say, 12 pixels, and a dark gray color. Okay, save it, and you can see how these things look, right? I don't know whether it is visible to you or not, but it looks like as if it is lifted. Now I will show you one more trick. You can add any number of shadows you want. Okay, so if you want to add one more shadow, just press comma, and you can copy this entire thing from here, paste it. You can have another shadow. Okay, but this time for neomorphic effect, only one thing you have to change, to two things you have to change is put the X and Y into negative. Okay, and the color should be somewhat light. Okay, so this is fine. Okay, now if I save it, uh, this is how it looks. Now you can obviously tweak it a little. It is too much, so I will make it as, let's say, 4 and 4. Save it. Okay, and I think still it is too much. Okay, so you can tweak it according to your needs. Okay, so now this is looking better. Okay, and I want to add another opacity parameter, so I can add that, let's say, 0.5, 0.8. Okay, so this is better. And similarly, I want to add opacity to this also, RGBA, and 0.8. Okay, so I don't know whether it is visible to you or not, but this is how it looks. Okay, so let me just make it a little darker. It is becoming too, yes. Okay, so this is how it looks now. Can you see the effect happening? It is as if it is coming out of a plain sheet. Okay, so this is the latest trend in, what do you say, web designing, that neomorphic effect. So you all can try this when you start designing. Okay, any doubts still here? Okay, so one more last thing I would like to show before we end this particular session. Okay, so I have around 10 minutes left. So another wonderful thing that is, we can do animations also. Okay, so using CSS, doing animations is very easy. You can do complex animation as well as simple animation. Today we will see simple animations. Okay, now to do animations, you have to add some interactivity to your uh, buttons or to your elements, right? So to do that, what we normally do is we select the tag, okay, button, and what I want is when I hover over it, something should change. Okay, that means either the glow should change or the color should change, something. Okay, so for that, the we use something called as a pseudo selector. Okay, so this colon hover can be set connected to any element. Okay, so what this does is, this style will only be applied, whatever you type over here will only be applied when you hover over it. Okay, so like for example, if I change the color to something like green or green yellow, okay, once I save it, you can see what is happening. Okay, so when I go over it, it becomes green color. Okay, so now I want to apply the same effect to my I want to add a glow to the button. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. Okay, so I will use this box shadow command completely, copy this, paste it over here, and simply I will change the color. Okay, so instead of this, I will change the color to something like this. Okay, it should be green. Okay. And for the light part, I should select something like this. Okay. Now if I save it, you can see the effect. Okay. Now obviously this effect is very immediate. Okay, so there is no transition directly. Okay, now to have a nice little animation going on, what you can do is you can do any changes that you want over here, and on top of that, on the parent class, that means for example, if this is the hover, then to which tag this hover is applied to the button, right? So for that tag you can add a new property called transition. Okay, transition is basically slowing down the things for you. Okay, so you can set the transition speed, let's say 500 milliseconds. Okay, so whatever is happening in the hover, that will take some time to happen. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. Okay, so if I go over there, can you see it happens little slow? Okay, let me increase it to 1500 milliseconds. Okay, and now let me try to do this. You can see it increases the color gradually. Okay, it does not increase directly. So if I remove it, it goes out slowly. Okay, so that is what that is all the things that you can do. You can do more things also, like for example, there is another command called translate. Okay, so you can do translate, sorry, transform, and in transform you can do anything with the object. Okay, you can move it, you can increase the size, you can rotate it, you can skew it. So there are lots of things you can do. You can see all these things. Okay, so I'm going to do scale. Okay, so I'm going to scale and increase the size a little. Okay, so let me increase it to 1.1. Okay, so when I hover over it, you can see the button, increases its size. Okay, so if I remove it, it goes back to the shape. The speed is very low, I think. Let me just make it 500 only. Okay, so now you can see how the effect looks. Okay, so such wonderful effects you can create. You can also make, you can also scale, transform it. Okay, let's say for example, transform Y to minus 30 pixels. Okay, so now when I do it, you can see it goes up. Okay, so these are some of the things that you can do using CSS. Okay, so these animations you can do, uh, uh, which makes your website wonderful. Okay, so you can also do rotate. In case of images, you can try to rotate it so that it looks much better. Okay, so all these things you can do. It completely depends on your imagination and what you would like to create. Okay, but if you do too much complex animations, then it will slow down the browser also, so that you should take care. Okay, so any queries still here? Any queries still now? Okay, so from next time onwards, we will start designing websites. Okay, so you know the basics of the selectors, basics. Okay, Amin Ali, could you explain the scaling part again? Okay, so basically, you can transform any object, any div or any anchor tag or anything, any element, basically using this particular property, that is transform. Okay, and the transform can take different functions. Okay, so there are many functions that you can do. The first one is, let's say, that I showed you was scale. Okay, so in scale you can set the amount, how much you want to scale. Okay, if you put scale as 1, that means original size. Okay, so it doesn't make any sense to have the same size. Okay, but if you go down, let's say 0.8, 0.8 means you're scaling down. Okay, so that particular object will be compressed. If you go up 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 like that, that means you're scaling up. Okay, so now depending on the application, you can scale up or scale down. It depends on the application. Okay, so I want to do scale up, so I did 1.1. Okay, and when I go over it, you can see now it expands. Okay, if I do 0.8, it will compress. Okay, so that thing can be done. Similarly, there is translate. So translate is to move the box somewhere. Okay, you want to transform it in the X direction or in the Y direction. Let's do it X this time. Okay, so I want to move it in the X direction. Okay, so how much do you want to move? So 20 pixels. Okay, so I want to move it in the 20 pixels. Okay, so if I do 20 pixels, it will go in the positive direction. If I do minus 20 pixels, it will go in the negative direction. Okay, so if I save and if I hover, you can see it goes to the negative direction, 20 pixels. Okay, so all these effects you can use. You can do rotate also. Okay, so let me show you rotate, and here you can tell how much degree you want to rotate. Okay, so let's say you want to rotate 10 degrees. So 10 DEG or for degrees. If you save it, you can see what is happening. Okay, so it rotates. So it completely depends on you, how much you want to, what effects do you want to give. Okay, in fact, there is option for 3D rotation also. Okay, any other queries? Okay, so I think there are no more queries. So from next week onwards, we will start developing websites. Okay, so at that time I will show you different there are a few more properties that you should know, but that is better understood once you start designing. Okay, so based on the layouts, the properties will change. Okay, so that time we will see display, how to use the display flex and display grid, all those things. Okay, floats.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, how to create a div just next to another div? Like if we create a div, it will occupy the entire line. Or if we write something apart from writing in a div, it occupies the entire line. We cannot place anything in that line.
Okay,
If the space
so
is empty,
for
then
that, there are multiple ways. One way is to use a span if you don't want to use div, or if you want to use div, what you can do is, let me just show you once I save it. Okay, so these are my divs, right? And right now I have set a width, right? But it is not, what do you say? It is not coming side by side. So all you have to do is put display. I will put it as inline block. Okay. So once I do this, I can do that. I can make it as a, what do you say, inline, uh, inline elements. Okay. So just by a single one line comment, I can make any element as an inline comment, inline element. Okay. But this is not the only way. There are lots of other ways that you can do this. Okay. So like, for example, I think I can use float also. Yes. So if you use float left, that also makes it inline. Okay. So you can do it one after the other. And in the next session, I'm also going to show you flex box. Okay. So that also you can use to make it in single line. Okay. So there are lots of ways for doing the same thing. Everything has their own
sir,
pros
suppose
and
if the
cons.
three divs are not in one div, they are in another div. So then what we have to do in that case?
In
Suppose these three divs are not in one div, they are in other divs. Like we have two other divs and we have to like float it to left
So
or right.
should I
Then what should
remove
we do?
this container?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It will still work. Okay, it has nothing to do with that. Okay, so because I'm doing float, it will still work. Okay, so basically float is converting that particular thing into inline. Okay, so it does not matter whether it is inside a div or not. Okay, any other queries?
So this thing is making it only. If we have to put it in some specific location.
Yeah, for that you have to position. That's why we needed that div, outside div. Okay, so we have to have such kind of a div so that we can position this div and accordingly we can change the location. Okay, like for example, let me select that container. It was container, I think. Okay, and now here I have to first set this container as uh, I, no, these things I have not yet covered, but still I will show you. Okay, so if I set it as absolute, now I can I can change the top to, let's say, 20 pixels. Okay, so you can see now I can set the location. Now left to let's say 50 pixels. So it is now changing the place. Okay, so I can adjust the location according to my need. I can put it anywhere. Okay, so if you do fixed, now these things are still pending, so I should not confuse you right now, but there are the position. There are 4 different positions that you can set: static, absolute, relative, and fixed. Okay, and there is one sticky also. So those things can be used to position your element anywhere you want. Okay, so that we will cover in the next session. So that is when the layouting starts. Okay, any other queries? uh, we can do it with any of the 3. Positioning can be done with fixed, can be done with absolute, can be done with relative. Okay, but most of the times we use relative. Okay, that is the normal procedure. There is a reason also, we will see why. So see you then. See you next week for the same.